When we think about different political ideologies in the UK and the kind of attitudes associated with them towards constitutional matters, one important divide that's often thought about is the division between more conservative attitudes towards the constitution and what might be seen as more liberal attitudes towards the constitution. On the conservative side, Edmund Burke, who was a politician, a Whig politician and political philosopher in the late 18th century, has been very influential. Burke wrote and said a lot, but the way his ideas have been interpreted, particularly by conservatives who came after him, is very important. And following their interpretation of Burke, they tend to regard the Constitution as an organic entity, as something which has developed and grown over time, and which is the work of many hands, which has roots in the past and has a legacy to pass on to the future, and that is not something that can be grounded in abstract ideas. It's something which grows naturally, and that if you try and apply rigid first principles to it excessively, it's going to lead to problems, it's going to lead to disruption, destabilization. That's the key kind of message that people at the conservative end of the political spectrum in the UK have taken from Burke and have applied in their attitude to the Constitution, and that tends to, in practice, work out as a reluctance to embrace all covering radical reforms of the Constitution. Doesn't mean complete opposition to any change by any means. It can lead to significant changes taking place, but it does mean a kind of first principles, complete alteration of the Constitution is something which conservatives in the UK have tended to draw back from. That's the broad conservative school. If we look at another school, the more liberal school of thought, of approach to constitutional matters, there's more of an emphasis on rights. So while the Conservatives are more interested in historic inheritance and continuity combined with change which goes with the flow, Liberals have tended to be more interested in actually establishing clear principles and rights, and have been more accepting of the idea of radical change. And although this school is generally regarded as being liberal, in more recent times you can see its influence, for instance, in the approach of the Tony Blair governments first elected in 1997, who implemented a programme of pretty radical constitutional change affecting many aspects of the Constitution. For instance, introducing the Human Rights Act 1998, introducing devolution to Scotland and Wales, reintroducing it to Northern Ireland, quite radical reform of the composition of the House of Lords, Freedom of Information Act 2000, creation of a UK Supreme Court later on that became operative in 2009, all things we talk about in others of these talks and these subjects. So that's an example of an approach to the Constitution that, although the Blair governments didn't go all the way and introduce a fully written constitution or codified constitution, they did apply what we might see as rights-based first principles to different aspects of the Constitution. And in as far as they did that, we can see the kind of liberal tendency in the Constitution playing out.